Okay, so this is the tutorial to accompany box 6 of the Countdown to Christmas, and we're going to make some fabulous needle felted Christmas trees. So you've got a little piece of foam and 2 needles, one slightly bigger than the other, so start with the bigger one. I put in 2 just in case you have an accident and one breaks. Nothing worse than not being able to finish your project. You've got 2 pieces of dowel to make the trunks and little stands for them to stand in. You will need the super glue that was in kit 1 to stick them together, or if you'd rather, you could use your own hot glue gun to stick them to the stars to the trunks. You have some jute to make a little bow, but feel free to use anything you have to decorate them if you feel it needs it. But all you need to do is tie a neat little bow with the jute. You can cut the ends so that it's right, and then you just stick that onto the front of them when they're finished. So how do we do it? We treat it like candy floss. So you've got lots of core wool in your kit. You're going to just spread it out and roll it around the stick. So imagine it's like candy floss and just start to layer it over the stick. Now the biggest challenge in this is going to be to needle felt it without hitting the centre of the dowel, because you don't want to break your needle on the dowel. So get yourself a good amount, well, firstly wrapped around like so, and then holding it on your foam, because this is the foam that you need to be working on, you're going to stab through the core wool so that it starts to hold together. So it takes a little bit of time, need a little bit of patience, but make sure you've worked out where that dowel is and don't stab it. Don't worry too much about the shape at this point, we're just bringing the fibres together. Okay, so I sped the video up a little bit there so you could see it starting to come together. So top tips are, keep your fingers out of the way. The needle's sharp, so you always want to have your fingers so they're out of the way of your stabbing. Keep turning it because you don't want it just to become flat, so keep turning it on the foam as you're stabbing the fibres to come together. And I would keep going until you've got a basic shape before you start adding any further wool to it. And just make sure you can feel the top there of the centre dowel and it's in the centre. You don't want it to be lopsided. The other thing is when you squeeze the fibres together, that helps you to felt them together. So if you flatten them with your hands and then stab, that will encourage them to knit together. So keep going and keep adding until you've got the trees the shape and the size that you want. Okay, it does feel like a little bit of an impossible task when you start, but I promise, just keep stabbing away and it will start to take hold. I've got 2 halves here, so you can see this side here starting to look like felt. This side here can see it still pulls away, and this is what you're aiming for. Now start to concentrate on areas, just don't stab everywhere randomly. Really concentrate on stabbing in one area over and over and over, and that's when you'll start to see some development from the raw wool into the felt. And that's what I've done here on this side, and you can see why this side is more compact and shaped than the other side. So just keep in one area and gradually stab away. You need to be repetitive, it needs to be quite fast so you can get it done more quickly, and it will start to come together. And only once we've got it into that firmer shape can we then start adding any type of definition with the lines. Okay, so I'll keep going, get to that point, and then I shall show you how to bring it all together. Okay, so once you've got it to that kind of consistency, you need to make sure that you can get the wooden dowel out of the top, because we want to be able to put that star on the top. And the only way to do that is to make sure that you can see the wood. So make sure you get the wood coming out of the top, and now you can think about how you're going to shape it. So it's ultimately going to stand in here just like this, and I might want to add some sort of candy stripes around it. So that's what I can do next with my needle. So in order to do that, now I've got this out here, I just need to make the top of it more pointed. So to do that, I'm just going to turn it and stab the top of it to try and make the point of the tree. So it's all about this time, keep moving it so you don't flatten it in one direction. Now, as well, if you think the tree's not big enough, this is the point that you can start adding more layers and add them to it. But if you're happy with the size that you've made, then just carry on with the shaping. So you can see by just doing that, I've managed to get that lovely pointed treetop shape at the top. And then I can have a think about how I'm going to make these lines come across. And you just concentrate on stabbing in exactly the space that you want those lines to appear. And I'm going to spiral it down. And hopefully when I turn it round here, that spiral line will appear stepped down. Can you see how I've got those lines? Until you go to the bottom, like so. If you feel you've got any marks on the actual front of the tree that you don't want, pop your needle in and out across the top of it to build the texture of the top rather than stabbing it in to change the shape of it. So you can do that just by stabbing along the top, and this is where you might want to use your smaller needle just to do that similar thing. It will just help to sculpt the top of it rather than change the shape. Okay, so remember these are snow-covered trees, so they are supposed to look a little fluffy, so don't worry about getting it too tight, the wool, but I'm happy with that. I've got my little lines going through it. I hope you can see that on the camera. I think it goes well with my other Christmas trees. So I've got my little piece of jute that I've just made the bow a little bit smaller so that it fits the size of my tree, and I'm just going to cut away the excess, and then you can use the super glue or PVA glue would work as well, but I've heated up my glue gun so that I can just stick that on with ease on camera onto my tree. And then I've got my little star that's going to sit on the top, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to apply some glue gun glue and pop that on. And that way I haven't got to hold it too long. It'll instantly stick. And then getting away all those stringy bits, I've got my stand, and you can glue it in if you'd rather, but it will just push in, and then that makes for a beautiful needle felted Christmas tree. And once you've done two, they'll look great stood on anybody's mantelpiece. So I hope you enjoy making your needle felt Christmas trees.